the undefined power of showing up. Welcome to the soft girl era, where we drop the titanium cape, slip into our softness, and still run the world. I'm thrilled to share with you today some profound insights I gained from interviewing the remarkable Torilla Stepter, a visionary whose work has transformed countless lives through her unwavering commitment to creating authentic spaces where Black women can thrive unapologetically. Her revolutionary approach to self care and community building has rippled across industries, challenging toxic productivity cultures and inspiring a movement of women who refuse to sacrifice their well being on the altar of achievement. Have you ever noticed how we're constantly told what to be? Strong, resilient, unbreakable. But rarely are we told it's okay to just be. When I sat down with Taria, I expected our conversation to follow familiar paths. Instead, what unfolded was a masterclass in authentic presence that fundamentally shifted my understanding of power and success. The most revolutionary thing you can do, Torilla told me, leaning forward with intensity in her eyes, is to show up as your complete self in spaces that weren't designed for you. That statement hit me like a thunderclap, not because it was new, but because it articulated something I'd felt but couldn't name, a truth that resonated in my bones. We live in a world obsessed with productivity metrics, achievement benchmarks, and external validation. We're taught that our worth correlates directly with our output. Work harder, push further, sacrifice more. The gospel of hustle culture preaches that rest is for the weak and vulnerability is a liability. But what if that entire framework is fundamentally flawed? Torilla Stepter's approach flips this narrative on its head. Through her work, she has demonstrated that true power comes not from conforming to external expectations, but from honoring your authentic self, including your needs for rest, joy, and community. I spent years thinking success meant exhaustion, she shared. I wore my burnout like a badge of honor, but that wasn't success. That was slow self destruction disguised as ambition. How many of us recognize ourselves in those words? How many of us have equated our value with our capacity to endure, to push through, to sacrifice? The data tells a sobering story. Black women experience higher rates of stress related health conditions, from hypertension to anxiety disorders. We're more likely to report feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and underappreciated in professional settings. Yet we're also less likely to prioritize self care or set boundaries that protect our well being. This isn't coincidence. It's the predictable outcome of a culture that celebrates endurance over enjoyment, that rewards visible productivity over invisible restoration. During our interview, Torilla shared a framework she calls the 3 R's of reclamation: rest, refusal, and radical joy. Rest, she explained, isn't just about sleep, though quality sleep is non negotiable. It's about creating intentional pauses throughout your day, your week, your year. It's about recognizing that your creativity, clarity, and capacity all depend on your willingness to step back and replenish. Rest is productive, she insisted. It's not what you do when the work is done, it's what makes the work possible in the first place. Refusal is about boundaries, the courage to say no to demands that deplete you without adequate return. It's about recognizing that your time and energy are finite resources that deserve to be allocated with intention. Every yes comes with hidden costs, Torilla noted. When you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values or priorities, you're saying no to something that does, even if you don't know what that something is yet. And radical joy, That's about reclaiming pleasure as your birthright. It's about rejecting the notion that struggle is the only path to growth or that suffering somehow makes success more meaningful. Joy is resistance, Torilla declared. In a world that expects Black women to carry everyone's burdens, choosing joy is a revolutionary act. These principles might sound simple, but their implementation requires courage. It means challenging deeply ingrained beliefs about what success looks like and who deserves care. Tarilla shared the story of Maya, a corporate executive who came to one of her retreats after being hospitalized for exhaustion. Maya had been the first Black woman to reach senior leadership in her company, and she felt the weight of representation on her shoulders every day. She arrived at meetings early, stayed late, took on additional mentoring responsibilities, and never refused a request, all while smiling through microaggressions and isolation. Maya told me she couldn't afford to rest, Torilla recounted. She believed her presence was opening doors for others, and any sign of weakness would close those doors. But her body had a different perspective. Through Torilla's guidance, Maya began implementing micro boundaries, 5-minute meditation breaks between meetings, declining non essential committees, scheduling actual lunch breaks away from her desk. Most significantly, she stopped apologizing for these boundaries. 6 months later, Torilla shared, Maya reported not only improved health markers, but greater clarity and effectiveness in her role. By modeling sustainable success, she was actually creating a more authentic pathway for those following behind her. This story illustrates a powerful truth. Our capacity to create change depends on our willingness to challenge the very systems that demand our exhaustion. Torilla also told me about Kendra, a community organizer who came to her workshop feeling guilty about her decreasing capacity for activism. Between caring for her mother with dementia and raising two children, Kendra felt she was failing the movement by not showing up to every protest, every meeting, every crisis. What Kendra needed to hear, Torilla explained, was that her commitment to justice included justice for herself, that sustainable movements require sustainable participants. Together, they created what Torilla calls a season based engagement plan, recognizing that Kendra's capacity would fluctuate with her caregiving responsibilities and designing participation that honored those realities rather than fighting against them. 6 months later, Torilla told me, Kendra was contributing more meaningfully than before, but in ways aligned with her current season, hosting virtual strategy sessions while her mother napped, bringing her children to age appropriate events, focusing on behind the scenes support during high demand caregiving periods. These stories reflect Torilla's core philosophy that integration, not compartmentalization, is the path to sustainable impact. We're taught to compartmentalize, she observed, to leave our full selves at the door when we enter certain spaces. But that fragmentation comes at a cost. It depletes our energy and diminishes our power. The alternative she proposes is integration, bringing your whole self to every context, even when it feels risky, especially when it feels risky. Authenticity isn't always comfortable, she acknowledged, but comfort rarely leads to transformation. This perspective challenges the code switching many of us have mastered as a survival strategy. It invites us to consider what might be possible if we stop contorting ourselves to fit into spaces that weren't designed with us in mind. What if instead we showed up fully and unapologetically, trusting that our presence itself has the power to transform those spaces. During our conversation, Torilla shared a powerful affirmation that has guided her journey. I am not here to shrink myself to make room for others' comfort. I am here to expand into my fullness and create new possibilities through my presence. This isn't about arrogance or disregard for others. It's about recognizing that when we diminish ourselves, we diminish what's possible for everyone around us. The wisdom Torilla Stepter shared resonates deeply with scripture that reminds us we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Our worth isn't earned through achievement or endurance, it's inherent, God given, and unshakable. As Audre Lorde famously wrote, caring for myself is not self indulgence, it is self preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. Torilla's philosophy builds on this foundation, reminding us that our well being isn't peripheral to our purpose, it's essential to it. So, what does this mean for you right now in this moment? It means recognizing that the revolution begins within. It means understanding that your ability to create meaningful change in the world is directly connected to your willingness to honor your own needs and boundaries. It means rejecting the false dichotomy between impact and well being, between ambition and authenticity, between changing the world and cherishing yourself. Today, I challenge you to examine where you've been sacrificing your wholeness on the altar of productivity. Where have you been shrinking to fit expectations that were never designed with your flourishing in mind? What would it look like to show up tomorrow in your workplace, your community, your relationships as your complete, uncompromised self? This isn't just about personal well being, it's about collective transformation. Because when we each claim the right to our authenticity, we create ripples that change systems. When we refuse to participate in cultures of depletion, we create space for new possibilities to emerge. As Torilla so powerfully reminded me, the world doesn't need more exhausted women pushing through. It needs more whole women showing up with their unique gifts and perspectives, energized and clear about their boundaries. The soft girl era isn't about abandoning our power, it's about reclaiming it on our own terms. It's about recognizing that our strength doesn't come from conforming to broken systems, but from the courage to imagine and embody new ones. So I invite you today, no, I challenge you to drop the titanium cape, to embrace your softness as your superpower, to show up fully, authentically, and unapologetically in every space you enter. Because that, my friends, is how we truly change the world.